What is up, folks, friends, far and wide? We are back for day 8. Are we already on day 8 of 12 Days of Christmas? I think so, right? Yes, day 8. Day 8. Today's pattern is one that I had been percolating on for a while, and it was a necessity for me, you know, because if you haven't noticed, I have been traveling a whole lot to teach and just, you know, always going to see my niece and going to see family. So I'm just kind of always on the road. And I needed some little bags, some organizational bags. I needed some organizational bags, but I didn't want them to be like packing cubes. I didn't want them to be flat. I wanted to be able to toss charging cords and random toiletries and makeup and all of the minutia that I end up traveling with. I always carry lots of snacks and all sorts of stuff on the plane. I have like a little plane bag that I have all of my just random stuff, you know, extra chargers and all that jazz. So it brought me to this design. I was looking for something that was quick and easy and super functional and that looked good, but I didn't want to spend a ton of time making it. So I didn't want to do a lining. I didn't want to do any interfacing. I didn't want to do any of that. No zippers, none of that. So I came up with these little bags. This one's unsnapped because I'm professional. But so this bag, and so I came up with 3 different sizes for all the different uses. This is the size large. So it is about 10 inches across at the top and 7 inches across at the bottom. And then it has a 3-inch depth here. This one is what I use all of my travel toiletries. So like shampoo, conditioner, you know, all of that jazz. Excuse me, too excited. But so this 3-inch base here, it provides enough room for the bottles to stand up straight, which I love. I don't want them, you know, falling over. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have colored hair, which means that my shampoo and conditioner have color in them. So when they spill, it is a nightmare. So I need everything to be standing up vertically when I travel, which is where this design came from. So this is the size large. I also came up with the size medium. So for comparison, here are the two. It's the same height, but it's just more narrow on the bottom and it's not as wide, obviously. So this one is good for makeup or for snacks, of course, lots of snacks. And then this little cutie, well, actually this is my charging cords. I put all those in here. And then this little baby, isn't it just the cutest? It's so tiny. I don't really know what you could put in here. I mean, I feel like this would be good for like my niece Juno, so she could put like rocks in it or something. But it's just so cute and I couldn't resist. I do think that it has many, many uses, of which I have not quite figured out yet, but all of you out there are so creative and I know that you might enjoy this size. So in the video, I'm showing you how to make the large and the medium, but to make the small is the same exact process. Now, this bag has a really cool bottom. It has this neat little origami fold on the bottom, and I just love that. And so that's just a series of folds. I show you how to do it. It's rather simple, so don't fret. But so overall, I go over the 2 measurements in the video, but I'm just gonna put them up here at the top. So for the large, you're gonna cut 1 piece of cork vinyl or leather, and it's going to be 11 inches wide by 18 inches tall, and that's gonna give you the large size. To get the medium size, you're gonna cut 8.5 inches wide by 17 inches tall. And then to get this sweet little baby, you are going to cut 5.5 inches wide by 11 inches tall. Now, through the series of folds denotes how wide the bottom depth is going to be. The large has a 3-inch depth, the medium has a 2-inch depth, and I kept the baby with a 2-inch depth, but you can manipulate these proportions and play with the sizes. You can go, like if you wanted a taller bag, you would keep this width of 11 inches wide, but maybe do 25. And then that would give you a significantly taller bag. So say you're carrying full-size toiletries or something, or whatever. I don't know what, bottles of wine. I mean, you could really make it any size that you want, but you're going to want a panel that is more narrow, is longer than it is wider. I was trying to be fancy and use the word narrow. That didn't work out. But so feel free to run with the wolves on this one. Play with the proportions, go for it. The snaps that I use obviously are spring snaps. I do 3 on the bigger ones so that it closes across the entire panel. And then I did 3 on the medium, and I just did 1 on the little baby. But if you don't want there to be these little gaps, you can certainly do 2 and button that little guy right on up. So without further ado, grab your spring snaps and get you a roll of cork, because we are making snap bags. We're going to make the large style bag first. That is this style. This one is great for toiletries or for larger travel items that you may need. This would be a great makeup bag as well, but I designed this personally for my travel size toiletries, like my shampoo and conditioner and whatnot. So to get started, we need to cut 1 piece of cork, vinyl, or leather, and you're going to cut it 18 inches long by 11 inches wide. And I went ahead and added my logo here. I'm not sure if the camera can see that, but I did that 4 inches down and centered. And the first thing we're going to do is on the back side, we're going to mark 1 inch on both of the short edges, which will be the top and bottom. And we need to mark the closures, so the snap marks. On this one, I did 3, and you can do 2, you can just do 1 if you'd like. My thought process behind 3 was that it was closed all the way across the entire top. And so I'm going to start by marking, see if I can get my ruler turned around, marking right in the center. So half of 11 is 5.5. So I'm going to mark a 1/2 inch down from the top. So in the middle of this 1 inch mark, I'm marked at Druzy. She wants to help. 5.5 inches. And then I'm going to count over 3. So 1, 2, 3 inches and mark right there. And then 3 to this direction. So 1, 2, 3. And we're going to punch those holes. Okay, Druzy. Jeez. And we're going to be securing these with snaps. So I have my spring snaps, and I'm doing the snap set. So the 2 hats. So the top hat and the sombrero, you're going to put the top hat so that the flat side lays on the wrong side of your cork or vinyl or whatever textile you're using. So put all 3 in. And then flip her back over. And you're going to install your sombreros on top. So I'm going to install all 3. Oh. And then the last one here. So fiddly. All right, so we've got all 3 of our hats installed right there. Now you can glue or tape or just clip, but what we're going to do is fold over on that 1 inch line. I'm going to be using 1 strip of 1/2 inch tape, but you use whatever you prefer. And I'm laying it right over the back of my snaps here. And then I'm going to finger press this 1 inch down before I peel my tape. And if you want to, you can check your measurement against your cutting mat. So that looks good. Okay, and then on this side, we're just going to be adding the tape. Oh, I should have paid attention to this before installing my snaps. So if you don't want the actual cap to be showing on the front of your bag, then make sure that you install your hats on the same side that you have your logo, and then it'll just be one flat seam here, because this is the side that's going to have the snap or the caps showing. It's totally up to you. It doesn't really make a difference because you don't see them either way. But we're going to repeat that process over on this side and tape this end down. Oh, here comes Druzy again, trying to help. She's got that crazy look in her eye. All right, so this is what our panel looks like now. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the machine and we're gonna stitch right along the bottom edge here of this raw edge on both sides using a 1/8 seam allowance. Something that I just thought of and wanted to point out is that you can easily add, if you have a woven label or if your tag is a woven label and you're not like branding it or adding a metal tag, you can add these under this fold whenever you're folding this down and before you stitch. And then when you open the bag, you'll have a cute little tag. Or you can get some awesome cork tags that are embossed, or not embossed, but printed by Heartwood and Hide, and attach those on the outside for just a fun little saying. I am using Tex 70 thread from Waywack, a size 18 needle and a size 4 stitch length. And then if you need to, you can switch to a narrow foot if you don't have enough leeway to get around your snaps here. But that 1 inch should provide enough room for most presser feet to get around. Now, if you want to, you can add another line of stitching here across the top, but I'm just gonna leave mine as the folded edge. Now that we have our tops and bottoms stitched down, we need to create the bottom fold. And this folding method is going to create this cool detail accent here. Now the bottom of my large bag is 3 inches wide. If you want to, you can make it wider, but if you make it wider, then your bag is going to be shorter overall. And you can also make it narrower, which will make the bag taller. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to do the 3-inch bottom. So the first thing that I need to find is my center in between these two marks. All right, so I am at 16, so I'm gonna make a mark at 8. And then I'm going to count 1.5 inches to the right and to the left and mark that. So 1.5. I should have done it a little closer to the edge here. We're going to turn it around and do the same thing on this side. Now that we have our marks, we are going to finger press. So with the panel right side up, fold it until you get to that first notch or that first mark that you made and finger press it really well. You can add a couple clips down here and you want to make sure that the right and left side of your panel are lining up nicely. So if you need to make some adjustments, go ahead and do that. And then we're going to flip and repeat that process. So find that first mark and finger press it. But so finger press this one, add a couple clips. So it should look something like this. Now what you're going to do is lay these folds on each other, pushing this middle section up toward the center, and line up your top edge up here. And repeat that on this side, so line that edge up. Make sure that there isn't any slack anywhere. And then you can fold this fold down on itself, clip these together. Now again, you want to make sure that your sides are all nice and even and that your top edges are nice as well. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the machine and with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, you're going to stitch down both edges here and make sure that you backstitch really well here at the top and here at the bottom. And I like to add a couple stay stitches when I bump up over this middle fold as well. I'm going to do that on both sides. Go ahead and remove all of your clips. And what we're going to do is trim down to a 1/4 inch or you can do 3/16. It's up to you, but you don't want to get super close to the stitch lines. And now, because this is a raw edge pattern, if you want to, you can seal these edges with a coat of glue or base coat or whatever. So that way when the bag is being used, it isn't going to fray. But for now, I'm just going to leave it. If you really wanted to get fancy, you could totally edge paint the edges. So then when you're looking down into the bag, you have a nice bright edge in there. So now we're just going to flip it right side out. And you can push on these corners. And then you see it creates that really cool origami fold. And then this is what we're left with. And at this point you can form it. If you push more on the inside, you'll see that this triangle pushes all the way out and it becomes a nice even triangle. And the true test is going to be when you measure it, if it is 3 inches. And so you can see mine is right at 3 on that side. And then this one looks a little cattywampus, but it's measuring 3, but see how this side looks a little funky? So I would just push on that one a little more to angle it out. So you can add some finger presses in there. Now the last thing that we need to do to finish this bag off is we need to mark where our other sides of our snaps go. And I like to wait until this step to do it, just in case things get a little shifty whenever you're sewing. So what we can do is I'm going to put a clip on either side just so that there's no shifting. And I'm going to just apply so much pressure that I make an indentation in my cork. Or alternatively, what you can do is you can feel the snap and just make the mark where you feel it. And what I'm paying attention to is making sure that the tops of my bag are nice and even. Some corks, this is a little easier to see whenever you push on it and apply pressure, it leaves a nice indent, but this one is a little tough to see. All right, so I've got all 3 of my marks here. Now you're gonna take your, what is this, hole puncher? Now we just need to set our caps here on the outside. So these are going to be the nice finished edge. Insert those like so. Grab your tool that you're going to set your snaps with and insert the other half. Ta-da! And so now on the front where my logo is, it's a nice flat seam. But alternatively, you can swap it to where you can see the snaps. I like it this way as well. But there is the size large. And these are just the perfect, fun little travel bags. Say hi to the people. Oh, hello. Let's go ahead and whip up a medium size as well. So this panel, you're gonna cut 8.5 inches wide by 17 inches tall. And this size cut will result in the medium size bag. So this is that size here. And for comparison, here's the large, here's the medium. So the only major difference is that it's wider, it's significantly wider, but it also has a wider bottom. So this one, you know, I'm not sure what, you can use whatever you want for this one. This one I was using as my makeup travel case, and then this one had all my bigger toiletries. I also used this on a different trip for all of my cords and charging, all of that. And I used my cord clips to keep everything sane while they were in here. But so I clipped everything with cord clip, threw it all in here, and then was able to just throw this into my luggage. So these are like pretty cool, quick packing cubes. But, so let's make this medium style bag. Now, just like on the large, you can totally manipulate and play with the, what's the word? Proportions. I was going to say prepositions. I knew that wasn't right. But you can play with the proportions. If you want to do a 3-inch bag, it's just going to make it a little bit shorter, but it'll make it nice and wide along the bottom. And if you want to do it taller, you can just do a 1-inch bottom as well. So just like on the large, we're going to start by adding our clips. So I'm going to mark 1 inch from each top section, or the top and the bottom rather. And then we need to find our center, because I'm going to do 3 snaps on this one. You can definitely get away with 2 if you want to, but I just kind of like the look of 3, and it really keeps this end closed so nothing can spill out. I think this would be a great like art bag for a kid too. Crayons and such. So we're going to mark right in the middle, and then 1, 2, and then 1, 2. So that's going to give us the 3 marks. So mark in the middle, and then 2 inches to the right and 2 inches to the left. So middle, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now I'm going to pay attention to where my logo is. My logo is on this side, so I'm going to save this for the end because I want my caps to show on the front of this one. So I'm going to install the interior snaps to this side here. I think that these bags are so fun just because they're so useful. You can really create any size panel that you want and play with these proportions and make all different size cubes. But I mean, technically they're not cubes, but you know what I'm saying. You can make all different sizes to complete or to make a complete set. And you can really just customize it to your needs. And then if you make enough of them, they'll nest together like little Russian nesting dolls. And they're just really cute, and they pack away. You can just keep them in your luggage for, you know, ready to be used whenever you're traveling. I think that these could be really neat if you quilt them. So say you put like waxed canvas on the inside, or maybe some heat transfer vinyl. I would just want to use another fabric on the inside that wouldn't fray. And wax canvas will fray over time, but again, if you just seal the edges like I suggested in the first bag, then I think that that would work really great. There's lots of different ways that you can finish that seam off, but honestly, it doesn't bother me, and I haven't sealed those edges, and I've been using those to travel, and it's been working out just fine. Okay, so we've got our 1 inch mark. We're folding it over. This looks a little wacky over here. So of course, make adjustments as needed as you're going. But it's nice because this one isn't so, what's the word I'm looking for here? It's a very forgiving little pattern, because if you do kind of mess up your folds and such, once you do that bottom section, that bottom middle fold to create that cool fold out section, then you can kind of push the ease into it and it'll fix the problem. It won't be very visual. All right, so now we're going to pop to the machine and we're going to stitch. And on this one, I am going to stitch across the top edge as well, just to show you that, as well as this bottom edge on both sides. Now, if you use contrasting thread like I am for this one, you may want to consider marking where you're starting and stopping your stitch line, so that way whenever we do the fold later, your stitches line up perfectly. But we're just gonna wing it. Live life on the edge, you know? It's the end of the year. What do we got to lose? Oh, ran out of thread. Sweet. Because I am using contrasting thread, I went ahead and pulled this stitch line out so that way I didn't have any back stitching on this area. So I'm just going to redo that whole line. We've got our stitch lines complete, so I'm just going to burn my threads down. Ooh, get started with fire. We don't start the fire. I'm probably gonna get taken down for copyright. Hope not. Okie dokie. So now we need to find our fold lines here. So get your ruler and find your center. And then because we're only doing a 2-inch fold for the bottom, I'm just going to measure 1 inch to the right and 1 inch to the left of that middle mark. Oh, whoa. Be helpful if I could measure correctly. One. Alrighty, so we are going to fold on that first line, not the mess up one, but the first one. And finger press. Toss some clipperonis in there. Then let's do that again on this side. So this is what we've got. You can see it's starting to take shape already. I'm going to go ahead and put some clips up here at the top to hold it into place. And then now we can fold, push this section down in on itself and create that fold. Ooh, break a clip because you're so strong. And then back to the machine and stitch 1/4 inch seam allowance down both sides. Again, back stitching well over this jump, the center fold, and at beginning and end. Now, when I start my stitch line, I like to start it about halfway down or about a 1/2 inch down. So that way, because if you start right here and you jump up onto this, what's going to happen is this top layer is going to shift toward you, and then you're not going to have an even section. And that really drives me bonkers. So if you start about a halfway down, 1/2 inch down, then you can reverse stitch and come back. And I like to start at the top of the panel so that I have control over how it's going to look at the end, because you can start at the bottom and stitch up, but again, it allows for some easement and allows a lot of shifting. And so just like to, when it comes to making all of my edges look nice, I do not play that fast and loose. I try to be as precise as possible with that. So go ahead and get all of your little thready guys trimmed down. And then let's head back over to the other side of the table. Remove your clips and let's trim down our seam allowance. Just gonna burn my edges for all those little fuzzies. Ooh, that thread got me. Let's flip this bad boy right side out. Look at that little fold. Oh my goodness. Makes my heart smile every time. Alrighty. Ooh, I played that one a little close. So I think, because I moved my logo up on this one thinking that it wouldn't be that close, which was a dumb move. So in the future, I would still continue with the 4 inches down from the top before it's folded when I'm doing my logo. I did this one 3 inches and that's too close. But darn, I guess I'll just have to keep this one, huh? All right, so I'm pushing on my seams to where they're lined up on the edges because it has a proclivity to want to go where the least pressure is, and so it kind of shifts to one side. You can see how it wants to lay. But so go ahead and back that up. Toss your clip in there, making sure that your edges, your top edges are nice and even. And then let's mark for our holes. Ooh. Jeez, I had to use my strong hand on that one. Okie doke. So now we're going to put our caps here on the outside. Well, this one's just all sort of cattywampus, isn't it? So this one looks like it's a little bit uneven, so I just need to move this middle one down a touch. So I'm just going to punch a hole, like not a whole other hole. I'm just going to extend this hole down a hair. There we go. That's much better. And let's get these guys installed. Ta-da! And then to create that fold, you can just push this bottom section up in toward itself and push down. And then if you apply pressure, what that'll do is train the folds to sit how you'd like. How cute. Friends, we are to the end of day 8 of 12 Days of Christmas. I am so excited to see everybody's involvement and photos that you're posting in the Facebook group. It's been so fun to follow along, and I'm just really stoked that you guys are as juiced about this as I am. I thought of what you can put in this little bag. So I got to thinking, so for conventions, you know, everybody has like big caddies and all sorts of organizational bags that they carry, but tell me this isn't a perfect little clip bag. I mean, can you get any more useful? So clips for the seamstress. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed it. Please, if you go wild and you do some applique or some quilting, or you finish out the inside of the bag, please, please, please post photos in the Facebook group so that we can all see and follow along on your creative journey. And give me a thumbs up. It helps me in the ether. I really, really appreciate any comments and any shares that you guys make. Feel free to pin it on Pinterest. You know, just do what you do. And yeah, I will see you back here tomorrow for day 9. All right, bye.